Eala earns it the hard way from love 3 down first set. Lefty shape, stubborn defense and smart clay craft to outplay the 31st seed Wang Xinyu under the statues. 64-63 in an hour and 26 minutes. She avenges her semi-final Oakland loss where she fumbled match point in January to 1 and rolls into the Rome third round. Alexandra Eala didn't just beat Wang Xinyu in Rome today. She absolutely destroyed her. She dismantled her so completely, so ruthlessly, and so methodically that the entire global tennis establishment is officially on high alert. Stop what you are doing and listen to me closely. We did not just witness a tennis match at the Italian Open, we witnessed an absolute execution. An unseeded 20-year-old Filipina stepped onto the iconic red clay of the Nicola Petronjali Stadium and completely humiliated the 31st seed in the world. 7 breaks of serve, 0 double faults, straight sets. Forget the hype, forget the predictions. The Alexandra Eala era has not just arrived, it has kicked the door off its hinges, and it is terrifying. If you stand in the center of that historic Roman stadium, close your eyes and tune out the roar of the Italian crowd, you can almost hear the echoes of ancient gladiators. This is not just a tennis court, it is an amphitheater carved from red dust and marble, surrounded by towering neoclassical statues that look down upon the competitors like silent judges of history. In this arena, your past achievements mean absolutely nothing. World rankings are reduced to meaningless numbers on a piece of paper. On the heavy suffocating red clay of the International BNL d'Italia, there is nowhere to hide. You cannot rely solely on raw flat power. You cannot just serve your way out of trouble. You can only survive through lungs that burn like fire, legs that refuse to give out, and a mind forged in absolute unbreakable steel. Today, Alex proved she possesses all three in terrifying abundance. To truly comprehend the sheer shocking magnitude of what transpired on the dirt of Rome today, you must first understand the bitter painful history between these two warriors. This was not their first encounter. The scars of their previous battle were still fresh, still stinging. Earlier this year, under the blistering sun of the Australian swing, these two met in the semi-finals of the ASB Classic in Auckland. In that match, Wang Xinyu utilized her towering physical presence and devastating flat ground strokes to edge out the Filipina prodigy in a heartbreaking, nail-biting 3-setter. 5-7-7-5-6-4. It was the kind of agonizing loss that keeps a young player awake at night staring at the ceiling. The kind of loss that makes you question your tactics, your physical strength, and your very belonging at the elite level of the sport. Wang Xinyu arrived in Rome sitting comfortably inside the top 35 in the world. After receiving a bye in the first round, the 24-year-old Chinese star was fresh, fully rested, and heavily favored by every single analyst to overpower the young Filipina once again. The narrative was already written. The experts had made their confident predictions. Wang was supposed to hit right through the heavy court, dictate the baseline rallies, and send Alex packing back to the practice courts. But the experts forgot one crucial, undeniable variable. They forgot about the clay. And more importantly, they forgot that Alexa is a graduate of the legendary Rafadal Academy. The red dirt is not just a playing surface for her. It is her second home. It is the canvas upon which her left-handed masterpiece is painted. When the players walked onto the court, the physical contrast was stark and immediate. Wang Xinyu, tall, imposing, built to generate effortless, crushing power on fast, hard courts. Alexa, more compact, deeply athletic, possessing a lower center of gravity, perfectly engineered for the grinding, sliding, agonizing demands of elite clay court tennis. The umpire called play, and from the very first strike of the yellow ball, it became chillingly apparent that Alex had not come to Rome to simply compete. She had not come to just put up a good fight. She had come to exact total merciless revenge. Let us dive deep into the statistical anatomy of this destruction. Because the numbers from this straight set 64-63 victory read like an absolute horror story for the Chinese star. Statistics are often called the cold hard truth of professional sports. They strip away the emotion, they strip away the bias, and they lay bare the undeniable facts of combat. And the facts of this match reveal a level of tactical dominance by Alexa that is frankly staggering for a 20-year-old facing a heavily favored seeded player. The match was won and lost in the brutal trench warfare of the return game. On the slow courts of Rome, a massive first serve loses its venom. The thick clay grips the ball, slowing it down, allowing a world-class return of the fraction of a second needed to step in and attack. Alexandra Eala realized immediately that she could completely neutralize Wang Xinyu's greatest weapon. Throughout the match, Eala generated a jaw-dropping 11 breakpoint opportunities. But generating chances is one thing. Executing under the suffocating pressure of a masked tournament is the true mark of a champion. Out of those 11 opportunities, the Filipina converted a breathtaking 7 breakpoints. 7 times she shattered the serve of the 31st best player on the planet. In a 2-set match, breaking your opponent 7 times is not just winning. It is total psychological annihilation. Eala was reading Wang's service toss like a children's book. She was stepping inside the baseline, taking the ball incredibly early and ripping heavy, deep returns that landed right at Wang's shoelaces, forcing the taller player into awkward defensive errors before the rally had even truly begun. This relentless, suffocating pressure on the return completely broke Wang Xinyu's confidence. The Chinese star, desperate to find an advantage and get free points, began to overhit. She managed to land 73% of her first serves in play, which is a highly respectable number on the professional tour. But here is the statistic that defines the entire match. The number that will haunt Wang. The Chinese star only won 36% of her first serve points. Let that sink in for a moment. The 31st seed in the world won only 36% of the points when her primary weapon landed exactly where she wanted it to. Why? Because Alexandra Eala's defense was an impenetrable, frustrating fortress. Every single time Wang tried to flatten out a forehand and drive it through the heavy court, Eala's exceptional footwork allowed her to slide perfectly into position, drop her racket head, and brush up the back of the ball, sending a heavy looping topspin shot deep into the corners. Wang was forced to hit extra shot after extra shot. Her lungs burning, her patience rapidly evaporating. Eala accumulated a massive 37 receiving points, one completely suffocating the Chinese players' service games from the first minute to the last. But a great return game is meaningless if you cannot protect your own serve. And it is here in her own service games that Alex demonstrated a level of maturity and discipline that should terrify the rest of the WTA Tour. Consider the intense pressure of the environment. The swirling Roman winds throwing dust into the air. The roaring, passionate Italian crowd. The heavy weight of facing a seeded rival who beat you just months prior. In this chaotic cauldron of stress, Alexa committed 0 double faults. 0. Not a single one across 2 highly competitive sets. Her service motion was a picture of fluid, repeatable perfection. She maintained a brilliant 76% first serve percentage, constantly keeping Wang off balance and preventing her from teeing off on the return. Yet, the true masterpiece of Eala's performance lies in the most critical high-pressure statistic in all of clay court tennis, the second serve win percentage. When a player misses their first serve, they are incredibly vulnerable. The opponent steps in, the tension rises, and matches are often decided by who blinks first on the second delivery. Wang Xinyu buckled under this immense pressure, winning a dismal 40% of her second serve points. Eala devoured them. But when Alexa missed her first serve, she did not panic. She did not tighten up. She relied on a heavy kicking left-handed second serve that bit viciously into the clay and jumped high to Wang's weaker side. Against all odds, Eala won a staggering 62% of her second serve points. This means that even when she was at her absolute most vulnerable, even when she was statistically supposed to lose the point, she was completely dominating the rally. She protected her weaknesses so flawlessly that Wang simply had no avenues of attack. The narrative of the first set was absolute chaos, a violent, unpredictable tug-of war that tested the mental resolve of both women. Wang Xinyu, fighting desperately to assert her authority, actually managed to convert 4 out of her 5 breakpoint opportunities in the match. In almost any other scenario against almost any other player, if you break serve 4 times, you win the match comfortably. But Alexa did not just withstand the storm. She became the hurricane. Every single time Wang broke, I immediately broke right back. She refused to yield a single inch of momentum. She used her vicious Nadal-style topspin forehand to drag Wang completely off the singles court, opening up the opposite flank for blistering down-the-line winners. Despite Wang's heroic efforts to stay in the fight, Aya's sheer volume of breaks secured the chaotic first set 6-4. As the second set commenced, the severe psychological damage inflicted upon Wang Xinyu became highly visible. Her shoulders slumped, her footwork grew heavy and slow. The 31st seed was drowning in a sea of red clay and Filipino topspin. The second set was no longer a contest. It was a masterclass in court geometry. Aya went on a terrifying run, winning 4 consecutive games and completely breaking her opponent's spirit. She won 6 consecutive points at her absolute peak, dictating the tempo with the rhythmic, relentless precision of a metronome. The statistics show that Aya won 63 total points to Wang's 51, and she won 12 games to Wang's 7. It was a methodical, surgical, and deeply impressive dismantling of a top-tier professional. Match point was a perfect microcosm of the entire brutal encounter. Eala, displaying the ice-cold composure of a 10-year tour veteran, constructed the final point flawlessly. She served out wide, pulling Wang into the doubles alley. Wang desperately lunged, floating a weak defensive slice back into the center of the court. Aya did not rush. She took small, rapid adjustment steps, set her feet deeply into the Roman dirt, and unleashed a ferocious inside-out forehand winner that left Wang frozen flat-footed on the baseline. The scoreboard flashed the final undeniable truth: 64-63 game, set, and match to Alexandra Eala. The stadium erupted in applause, but Aya's reaction was chillingly calm. A raised fist, a nod to her coaching box, the quiet, terrifying satisfaction of an assassin who has executed her mission perfectly. When you watch Alex Eala play with this level of ruthless efficiency, you are not just watching a tennis match. You are bearing witness to the culmination of thousands of hours of unseen, agonizing sacrifice. You are watching a young woman who at the tender age of 13 packed her bags, kissed her family goodbye, and left her home in the Philippines to move across the world to Spain. She traded the comforts of a normal childhood for the grueling, solitary, blister-inducing life of an elite athletic prodigy. She bled on the practice courts of Mallorca so she could conquer the grandest courts of Rome. But there is a much deeper layer to this victory. A profound emotional weight that Wang Xinyu did not have to carry. Every single time Alexandra Eala steps onto a tennis court, she is not just playing for ranking points. She is not just playing for prize money. She is carrying the massive hopes, the dreams, and the desperate pride of over 100 million Filipinos. In an archipelago historically obsessed with the hardwood courts of basketball and the blood-stained canvas of boxing rings, Aya has single-handedly carved out a space for tennis in the hearts of her countrymen. When she plays, the bustling streets of Manila pause. The jeeps slow down. Millions of people tune in watching this young left-hander carry their flag onto the most prestigious stages in the world. She is more than an athlete to the Philippines. She is a massive trailblazer. She is a beacon of absolute possibility. She proves that with enough grit, enough sacrifice, and enough heart, a talent from Southeast Asia can look the towering giants of the sporting world in the eye and make them blink. Let us look much closer at the biomechanics of what makes Alice so incredibly dangerous on this specific surface. Clay court tennis is an art form that demands a highly specific physiological and psychological profile. When a tennis ball hits a hard court, it skids and accelerates forward. When it hits clay, the loose surface grips the felt of the ball, slowing it down drastically and causing it to kick violently upwards. For a right-handed player facing a left-handed player like Aya, this creates a geometric nightmare. Aya's forehand struck with a western grip and massive racket head speed generates thousands of revolutions of top spin per minute. When that heavy ball lands on Wang Xinyu's backhand side, it does not just sit there. It explodes upward, often leaping dangerously above Wang's shoulders. Hitting a clean, powerful backhand from above your shoulders is one of the most physically demanding, uncomfortable, and unnatural shots in the sport of tennis. By relentlessly targeting this specific vulnerability, Eala slowly and methodically dismantled Wang's offensive capabilities. It was not just about hitting the ball hard. It was about hitting the ball incredibly smart. It was a physical manifestation of a chess grandmaster slowly trapping her opponent's queen in a corner. And what about the brutal psychological warfare of the breakpoints? In professional tennis, a breakpoint is a moment of pure concentrated stress. The server feels the walls closing in, knowing that a single unforced error will cost them the entire game. The returner feels the massive surge of adrenaline, tasting the blood in the water. Wang Xinyu faced 11 of these agonizing high-stress moments. Imagine the intense mental toll of standing on the baseline, the hot Roman sun beating down heavily on your shoulders, the crowd buzzing loudly with anticipation, and looking across the net to see a 20-year-old opponent who simply refuses to miss a single ball. Every single time Wang thought she had hit a clean winner, Eala was already there, sliding gracefully into the corners, sending the ball back with even more interest. It is a suffocating, terrifying feeling. It is the feeling of fighting the ocean. You can punch the waves all you want with all your strength, but the tide is always going to come back. Eala is the tide today. Relentless, unforgiving, absolutely inevitable. The significance of her serving statistics cannot be overstated in this highly pressurized context. 0 double faults. Let us repeat that once more because it is the absolute cornerstone of this monumental victory. 0 double faults. When you are serving to protect a fragile lead against a top player, the arm gets incredibly heavy. The mind starts to wander. You think about the dire consequences of missing. The service toss goes slightly airy. The swing gets tight and the ball clips the top of the tape. But Eala's mind was locked tightly in a state of absolute flow. She trusted her mechanics implicitly. Her 76% first serve rate meant she was constantly starting the rally on her own favorable terms. She dictated the crucial first strike, preventing Wang from stepping inside the court and taking massive cuts at the return. By completely neutralizing Wang's aggressive return positioning, Eala essentially disarmed the dangerous Chinese player before the rally had even truly begun. Even when Wang managed to drag Eala into deep, exhausting 20-shot rallies, the Filipina's vastly superior physical conditioning shone through brilliantly. Training intensely in Morca under the blistering Spanish sun prepares a player for the brutal physical demands of the European clay court swing like absolutely nothing else on earth. The Rafa Nadal Academy instills a deep philosophy of suffering. You learn to embrace the burning sensation in your lungs. You learn to love the lactic acid building heavily in your legs. You learn that pain is just weakness leaving the body. In the second set, as the match stretched well past the hour mark, Wang's movement became noticeably sluggish and labored. She completely stopped chasing down the well-disguised drop shots. She started lazily reaching for balls instead of taking the extra painful steps to move her feet. Eala, on the other hand, looked like she could comfortably play another 3 sets. She was lightly bouncing on her toes between points. Her eyes wide. Her focus razor-sharp. The 31st seed was simply outworked, outlasted, and entirely outclassed in every physical metric. Let us take a moment to pan out from the red dirt of the Patanjali Stadium and look at the much broader global implications of this massive victory. Professional tennis is a highly global sport, but historically it has been heavily dominated by towering Europeans and Americans. Players from Southeast Asia have very often faced massive systemic disadvantages ranging from a lack of top-tier coaching infrastructure to the logistical nightmare of constantly traveling across the globe to compete on the professional tours. For a player from the Philippines to not just compete, but to absolutely dominate and humiliate a top 35 player at a premier event like the Italian Open is a monumental, earth-shattering paradigm shift. Alexandra Eala is shattering massive glass ceilings with every single swing of her racket. She is forcing the international tennis community to look at the Philippines not just as a passionate fan base that loves to watch, but as a legitimate, highly dangerous breeding ground for world-class athletic talent. Young girls in Manila, Cebu, and Davao are confidently picking up tennis rackets today because they see themselves clearly in Alexandra Eala. They see her fierce determination, her unapologetic ambition, and her unwavering fierce pride in her heritage. When Aya speaks brilliantly in post-match interviews, she often switches seamlessly to Tagalog, deeply thanking her compatriots for their endless, passionate support. She fully understands the heavy weight of the flag she carries, and rather than letting it crush her spirit, she uses it as unlimited high-octane fuel. She plays with the fiery spirit of a nation that has always punched heavily above its weight class as the sun sets slowly over the ancient ruins of Rome, casting long dramatic shadows across the red clay of the internally BNL d'Italia. The dust is finally settling on what is undoubtedly one of the most remarkable shocking performances of the 2026 WTA season. Wang Xinyu, a phenomenal player with a very bright future, was simply caught dead in the path of a Category 5 hurricane today. She was beaten severely by a player who executed a flawless tactical game plan with a cold, calculated precision of a veteran champion. The statistics will forever tell the story of the match on paper. 7 breaks of serve, 0 double faults, 62% of second serve points won. But those cold statistics do not capture the sheer awe of watching a 20-year-old prodigy step fully and completely into her terrifying potential. They do not capture the loud cracking sound of her heavy top-spin forehand echoing off the marble statues of the stadium. They do not capture the look of absolute unbreakable resolve in her dark eyes. Alexa has officially arrived. The bitter heartbreak of Auckland has been brutally avenged. The hard lessons of the grinding ITF circuit have been deeply learned. The agonizing sacrifices made in Spain have borne massive fruit. The rest of the draw in Rome, and indeed the rest of the entire professional tennis world, is officially on the highest possible alert. The pearl of Philippine tennis is not just here to participate in the tournament and gain experience. She is here to conquer it entirely. The Gladiator Arena has a terrifying new champion, and her total absolute domination has only just begun. Listen closely to the roar of the crowd. Remember the name perfectly. Alexandra Eala is writing history with fire, one flawless, destructive victory at a time.